Hi everyone, welcome to the Chinese Film Club. This month we're introduced 4 short films, and today's session is our great honor to invite one of the short filmmakers to join our Q&A session. Hi Sasha.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good, how are you? Thanks for joining our talk today.
My pleasure.
Yeah, and it's also a great pleasure to have our film, Bright Token, to introduce that to the German audiences. So yeah, do you mind to introduce the project a little bit?
So yeah, I'm Sasha, and I'm the director of the short film Bright Token, which we made. We shot in the end of 2020. 2020. It was like 2 years ago, and then we finished in 2021 for the post-production. And the story is about like a young couple, and intercultural couple who has to face a decision of their future upon the news of their unintended pregnancy.
Interesting. And could you please share a little bit about where this idea comes from? It's quite sharp, the topic, I would say. So where does the story begin, and why do you want to make this kind of short film, especially during the pandemic period?
Right. So the story basically is kind of like a background story of the feature film I'm writing on. So that's kind of like what happened 7 years ago before the film starts, before the feature film starts. So that's kind of the background story. And during the pandemic, I was like, oh, my job was on hold. So then I felt like I better just use the time to make something. And since I have been writing this feature film, and then I thought like, why not just making something related to that? So that's kind of like how we started to plan the project. And what else did you ask?
Why choose during the pandemic period? But I think I already mentioned a little bit. So there I have a question. So have you met some challenges through the whole filmmaking process? Because pandemic, it was quite hard in 2020, especially in Europe. So how was the filming? Was it smooth? And how was the post-production? Was it quite smooth, the whole process?
The shooting was challenging, as we had to ask for permissions, and we had to deal with the uncertainty that pandemic and lockdown and COVID positive might have brought us. So that we had to be super flexible. We did lose, because in the beginning, I was talking with some persons who could potentially be our producer, and we lost one. And we almost, we had difficulty retaining the shooting permit for the train scene, but which in the end we delayed it. And yeah, just lots of stuff like this, and people who can't show up on set because some people were having cold symptoms, which they suspect that it might be COVID. So just stuff like this. And post-production is in a way much more smoother, much more smooth. But still, like, because I was, when we were shooting, I was in Netherlands, and then when I came back to China in 2021, we still had to deal with post-production sort of like online, like partially. So that was sort of challenging, how to transfer the files, because my editor was in China too. So this kind of interesting process, but very insightful.
That sounds like a long progress, but we're glad the film has been done. And could you please share some fun story while you were making the shorts? Is there any fun story? I hope so.
Oh yeah, right. We had a miracle. We had a miracle when we were shooting, and so basically, there's one scene, well, 2 scenes we shot on the last day, and they were both exterior. And the weather in Netherlands is kind of unpredictable for some people that who know it, and like it's known sort of for the wind and rainy and like that kind of weather during the winter and autumn. So then the last day, and everybody was afraid that it might rain. And in the morning we woke up, it was like raining. And then we were scared because the two things one is about like the couple have to discuss have the confrontation with each other while they are in a park. And if it's raining, nobody would argue in a park. and also the other one is like the father and son thing where they were like fighting together. And if it's raining, it would be really difficult for us to shoot as well. So then, so we were basically like praying that it not rain. And then in the morning when we got to the park, first, that was just huge wind. Like it wasn't raining, so we were like, great. And during the afternoon, when we were like riding to the location, and part of our crew is like 8 minutes away from us at our base, and they were freaking out at a certain point because it was pouring at their place, and they were worried about like how we were doing. And then at that moment, I was like, because we were just 6 of us, like shooting, we hired a golf cart on a little path, and with the 2 actors on the bike, and just like 4 people from the crew. So like we were going back and forth along that little path, and I saw the dark clouds coming, like bit by bit, like just rushing towards us. I was like, shit. But then I was like the prayer really worked, because what happened was like it was raining but not on us. It was like the road was wet. If you could see certain point of the film that the road was wet, that was from the rain. But then like when we drove back, it was dry. Like for us, it was not raining, and we had sun in the background. Wow, so that was kind of really amazing experience.
Wow, that's incredible, I have to say. So that's the beginning scenes, right? At the beginning of the film you mentioned.
Yeah, that's one scene in the beginning and one scene in the middle.
I see. Well, that's quite a miracle, I have to say. And right now I also have a question, because I know you're based in LA for half a year now. And since, before you were living in Holland, but you are originally from China, and now you're based in LA. So through the different cultures within the industry, is there many difference per culture, or how's your experience?
I think so. Like, you mean like when it comes to film, right?
Yes, within the industry.
I feel like industry itself is very different, and the aesthetics are very different too. Like, industry, like let's say Holland or in the US, they're well developed. Like they have they're mature basically in the way that they handle things and in the way they treat their crews. And China is less let's say still in the development stage. So for instance, let's say as a crew, you can't, there's nothing to guarantee your time of rest, for instance, in China. And it's usually that you shoot for, I don't know, like 16 at least hour onwards. And so like 20 hours is sort of like, it's long, but it's normal. Like people have done that. I have done that. And it's really frustrating and tiring. But over here, because everything is like so organized, because it has lots of reason to it, but then the fact is it's so organized, and you have just like standards. Mm-hmm. So you could work and at the same time have a life. And I guess from like the other perspective, as in the way that I describe aesthetics, the films that people like is also quite different. like European films are more like independent, author-driven, and art house. Doesn't really necessarily have a strong structure or like strong dramatic structure or plot points to that. But then like American film are more like intend to cover more of that. And instead of like feelings or artistic visuals or voices or styles, more narrative driven, let's say. So that's the difference. And China, I don't know, China is still developing, so there's so many different styles, I would say, probably, and the people came abroad to study, so then they have different styles as well. But then yeah, it's just like censorship and stuff that you would have, from my point of view, that you have more limitations in what you can do, and that does have an effect on the films that are coming out and the films that the audience are able to watch. And so since there's not so many options in the market, it's just it's hard, I guess, for me to say at this point that what the audience actually prefer, because I don't know, like it's, yeah, you haven't offered them the options. Because I feel like it's difficult for me to agree with some opinions, like the Chinese audience just like commercial stuff, or like this type of film. But I wouldn't know, because there's nothing in the market that goes the other way. So yeah, it's hard to say.
That sounds complicated. And before, you mentioned the short film is the prequel for your feature-length film. So how is that development going? So, and is it in the script development stage, or are you start planning to shoot? And if so, where do you plan to shoot it? In Europe, America, or in China?
It's still in development, like script development stage, and it has been long. Like I started the concept in 2019, and yeah, so it's a long writing process. But I mean, to me, like taking the time is good. Like story is the core of everything. So yeah, I'm okay with taking more time on it. And I feel like at this moment it's probably going to be in China for the majority of the shoot, but it also depends. I don't know, everything's up in the air now at this moment. Like you can never tell what's the situation practically over there for shooting. So yeah, I do have other options in the back of my mind, sort of as backup. But at this moment, I would say like China is the majority of shooting location, and small parts in Holland. But again, that it depends on the investment and sort of things related to that. So it could be elsewhere to like English speaking country, which I sort of also, yeah, I don't think it's a bad idea when it comes to like actor and actress selection. It'd be easier.
Yeah, that sounds cool. Oh, so I hope the whole preparations and the script development can go through successfully, just as the short films goes. And yeah, we hope in the future we can invite your feature films also join our program. Yeah, Sasha, thanks again to join our chat today, and we hope to see you soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you.
See you next time.
See you.